Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Purpose Driven Life Day 7, one weekend to this wonderful journey. So thank you so much for joining us. Today is Day 7, and it's all for Him. The reason for everything. The reason for everything, and basically the reason for everything is God is the reason for everything, in case you guys didn't already know. So the reason for everything. So as you saw on the screen before we started, the point to ponder is it's all for Him. Him meaning God, the reason for everything. And the verse remembers, for everything comes from God alone. Everything lives by His power, and everything is for His glory. And the question to consider is, what in my daily routine can I become? Where in my daily routine can I become more aware of God's glory? So, my love, would you like to jump in with some thoughts from the reading?
Sure. You know, when I first read this a few years back, I had a little trouble with this chapter, but now reading it, it's like, yeah, of course,
What trouble did you have with it? Why did you have trouble with it?
Just like wrapping my mind around the concept of God's glory. But now, being a mom and talking to our son all the time about God, totally understand that everything that we do is for Him. God is always with us, around us, in us, all times. So it makes sense. Everything that we do, our gifts are an expression, using our gifts are an expression of love to God. There's a sentence in here on page 53 if you're following along. God's glory is the expression of His goodness and all His other intrinsic eternal qualities. And one thing I love about this chapter is the way it answers the question, how can I bring glory to God? And they break it down in different points.
5 purposes for your life. 5 purposes that we can bring glory to God. And the first one is by worshiping Him. They say worship is our first responsibility to God.
Mm-hmm. And how do you worship?
You can worship. What are some of the examples?
It's more than, going to church on Sunday, that's for sure. It's a lifestyle, right? Enjoying God, loving Him, involving Him in your life, giving ourselves to Him, using our God's gifts to honor Him.
And he wants all of that to be motivated by our love for God.
And I know you said the 5 purposes, which interestingly enough is starting tomorrow, the book is broken down into those 5 purposes.
Into those 5 purposes, right. Exactly.
So the first purpose, just to reiterate, is by worshiping Him, right? Okay, then the second one?
So we bring God glory by loving other believers.
Well, what does that mean? Do only believers of Jesus Christ or God? I mean, like any religion?
What's your take on that?
My take, the way I read it, is all religions. Look, it says if you become a part of God's family, although it does reference only Christ in here, I interpret it as any faith that you follow. It's your responsibility to follow that faith and honor.
In here it said, accept each other as Christ has accepted you. And Jesus accepted everyone. So I don't think that we can only go about it saying, "Oh, I'm only going to love someone who believes and has accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior."
Exactly.
I think we are to truly love everyone.
Right, because you can't cancel out billions of people that practice other faiths and other religions, right?
Exactly.
So that's purpose number 2. Loving other believers.
And purpose number 3 is we bring God glory by becoming like Christ.
And what is your interpretation of that one?
I think that's the whole point of when we say Christian, to be Christ-like.
Right. And how was He? What characteristics do you think they're talking about?
Well, there's many characteristics. So, we can just have a whole conversation just about that alone. But I think, being I like to just keep in my mind WWJD. What would Jaja do? No, I'm just kidding. What would Jesus do? So if you read the Bible and you heard stories of Jesus and how He treated others, and it tends to guide you in every situation.
That's so true. A Christ-like character you try to have, right? and how he treated other people, how he acted, right? How
Right.
he behaved, how he carried about. Okay, that's the third one. The fourth one? Uh-huh.
We bring God glory by serving others with our gifts.
Yeah. And I underlined a sentence here a few years ago when I read it. God didn't give you your abilities for selfish purposes. They were given to benefit others, just as others were given abilities for your benefit. That brings up a point where I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about she was feeling nervous about going to do something in court or something like that. And I said, well, it would be a shame if you allowed your fear not to share that gift that you have with other people, right? To just hold it for yourself, to try to overcome that, right?
And it's not just fear, but people sometimes, withhold their gifts for other reasons as well. It could be selfishly motivated to say, well, I'm not going to share this. This is just for me or whatever.
Right.
And the last way to bring God glory, and the most important one, I think, is we bring God glory by telling others about Him.
Mm-hmm.
And He says He doesn't want His love and purposes kept a secret. Once we know the truth, He expects us to share it, And I think that's very important, because if we can bring others into that, Christ life, and to live the way of Christ. My philosophy is this: if everybody lived that life, obviously, in a perfect world, in an ideal world, if everybody lived that way, you wouldn't have any need for police or jails or any of this, because everybody would be doing the right thing.
Right.
So in an ideal world, so the more and more people we can awaken to this life of living life through Christ would be amazing. But the truth of the matter is, there are many people who are aware and know about living like Christ, but still choose to do the opposite.
Interesting. And I love the way they end the chapter saying, what will you live for, right?
What will you live for?
Are you going to live for your own goals, or, your own comfort, or are you going to live the rest of your life for God's glory? So, I really enjoyed this chapter. I think it's a great segue leading into purpose number 1.
Exactly.
Which I'm excited to get
started.
Yeah. And just a little preview, it's planned for God's pleasure is the first day of the first purpose. So on that note, everyone have a good Saturday evening, and we will talk to you all tomorrow. Good night.